My fiance's work trip was actually my surprise party until I saw who she invited. The calendar alert popped up Thursday night while I was brushing my teeth. Pick up decorations. I stared at the screen, toothbrush dangling from my mouth. Because I hadn't set any reminder, I tapped into the details. Marco's name sat in the notes field like a signature on something I wasn't supposed to see. I rinsed and called him. Hey man, what's up? His voice came through too bright, too fast. Did you put something in my calendar? Silence. Not the kind where someone's thinking. The kind where someone's been caught. Marco. Okay, listen. He exhaled hard. Vanessa's throwing you a surprise party. Saturday night. At your place. She made me swear not to say anything, but I guess I screwed up the reminder settings when I was helping her coordinate. I sat on the edge of the tub. A surprise party? Yeah. Just act shocked when you walk in, all right? Don't tell her I told you. Got it. I hung up before he could say anything else. Vanessa had left for the airport that morning. Kissed me at the door, rolling her overnight bag behind her, talking about keynote schedules and networking mixers in Denver. She'd been specific. Almost aggressively specific. Flight leaves at 9:40. Hotels the Apex Suites near the convention center. Panel discussion Friday at 2. I'd nodded through it, used to her consulting gigs, used to the absence. But now the details felt different, heavier. I walked into the kitchen. The itinerary she'd printed was still taped to the fridge, every line filled in with times and locations, neat as a legal document. I pulled it down and read it again. Why would she need to lie about a whole trip, just to throw a party? Why not just say she was busy Saturday and let me make other plans? The decoration reminder sat in my phone like a splinter. I opened our shared credit card account, the one we kept for emergencies and travel expenses. She'd used it this week. I scrolled through the charges looking for Denver. Nothing. Instead, a boutique hotel downtown. One night, checked in yesterday. Dinner reservation at a place I'd never heard of, 70 miles from here, confirmed for 2. And a charge from a men's store called Whitmore and Holt. Not a place I'd ever shopped. Not a place she'd ever mentioned. My hand tightened around the phone. I called Marco back. Dude, I already told you. What hotel did she say she's staying at? He paused. I don't know, man. She didn't tell me that part. Just said she'd be out of town and to help with the setup Saturday. She told me Denver. Yeah, that's what I thought too. I hung up again. The charges didn't make sense. A men's clothing store, a hotel 20 minutes from our house, a dinner reservation for 2. I sat at the kitchen table and stared at the itinerary, at the crisp block letters spelling out a trip that didn't exist. Maybe she was coordinating with someone else for the party. Maybe the hotel was for a vendor meeting. Maybe the dinner was some kind of planning session she didn't want me to know about. But the men's store, I texted Marco. I'm going out of town for the weekend. Don't tell Vanessa. I'll be back Monday. He replied in seconds. Wait, what? I didn't answer. I packed a bag, locked the door behind me, and drove to his apartment. He met me in the parking lot, confused and wired. What's going on? I need to stay here Saturday. Just trust me. Are you serious? I pulled up the door camera app on my phone and turned the screen toward him. I need to see who shows up. His face changed. You think she's... I don't know what I think. He let me in without another word. I dropped my bag by his couch and sat down, phone in hand, watching the live feed of our front door like it might explode. Friday morning, I woke up on Marco's couch with my phone already open to the credit card app. I'd checked it twice during the night, hoping the charges would rearrange themselves into something innocent. They hadn't moved. Marco came out of his bedroom holding a mug of coffee, eyes careful. You sleep at all? Some. He sat across from me in the recliner. You want to talk about it? Not yet. He nodded and drank his coffee in silence. I appreciated that he didn't push. I scrolled through the charges again, slower this time, trying to build a story that didn't end the way my gut said it would. The boutique hotel was called the Irving. I looked it up. 12 rooms, exposed brick, described as intimate and romantic on every review site. Not the kind of place you book for a business meeting. The dinner reservation was at a steakhouse an hour outside the city, the kind with private booths and a wine list that required a sommelier, and the men's store charge was for $340. I tried to picture her buying me a gift. A jacket, maybe. A watch. But she would have used her own card for that. She always kept surprises off the shared account. I set the phone down and pressed my palms into my eyes. You want me to call her? Marco asked. No. You want me to ask around? See if anyone else knows about this party? I looked at him. Do you actually believe there's a party? He opened his mouth, closed it. I don't know, man. She told me there was. She sent me a list of people to invite. Your sister's coming. A few guys from your work. It seemed real. When did she tell you? 2 weeks ago. She called me, said she wanted to do something big for your 30th, asked if I could help coordinate. I said, yeah, that's it. Did she mention anyone else helping her? He frowned. Not by name. She said she had a couple vendors lined up. Caterer, I think. Maybe a bartender. She say anything about a guy named Todd? No, who's Todd? I shook my head. I don't know yet. I pulled up the hotel charge again and clicked through to their website. There was a phone number at the bottom. I stared at it for a long time before I called. A woman answered on the second ring. The Irving, this is Bryn speaking. Hi, I'm trying to confirm a reservation under the name Vanessa Calloway. One moment. Keys clicked in the background. Yes, Ms. Calloway checked in Thursday evening. She's scheduled to check out tomorrow morning. My throat tightened. Is there anyone else listed on the room? I'm sorry, I can't share guest details beyond the primary reservation holder. Right, thanks. I hung up before she could say anything else. Marco was watching me. She's there? Yeah. Maybe she's meeting someone about the party. A planner or something. At a romantic hotel. He didn't have an answer for that. I opened the door camera app and scrubbed backward through Thursday's footage. Vanessa left at 9:30 in the morning, just like she said she would. Rolling bag, purse over her shoulder, travel mug in hand. She locked the door, checked it twice, walked to her car. Everything normal. Everything exactly the way it always was when she left for a trip. Except she didn't go to the airport. I fast-forwarded through the rest of Thursday. No one came to the house. No deliveries, no visitors. Just an empty door and a quiet street. Friday's feed was the same. Morning passed into afternoon with nothing. Marco went to work around noon. I stayed on his couch, phone in hand, watching the camera and refreshing the credit card app like one of them might suddenly explain everything. Neither did. Around 3, a new charge appeared. Vanessa had used the card at a furniture store downtown. $2,000. I clicked through to the merchant's website and stared at the homepage. Modern sofas, accent chairs, sculptural lighting. The kind of place you went when you were redesigning a room. Or furnishing a new apartment. I called the store. A man answered, voice smooth and practiced. Hendrick and Lane, how can I help you? I'm calling about a purchase made today under Vanessa Calloway. Let me pull that up. A pause. Yes, Miss Calloway placed an order for a sectional and 2 side tables. Delivery scheduled for next week. Delivery where? I'm sorry, I can't disclose the address without customer authorization. I'm her husband. I understand, but our policy? I hung up. Marco came back around 6 with takeout. I didn't eat. He sat next to me on the couch and watched me stare at the phone. You're going to make yourself sick, he said. She bought furniture. Okay. $2,000 worth. Getting it delivered next week. He set his food down. To your house? They wouldn't tell me. He was quiet for a moment. Then, you think she's leaving you? The question landed like a fist. I hadn't let myself say it out loud yet, but hearing it from him made it real. I don't know. You should call her. And say what? Ask her what's going on. Just ask. I looked at the phone. Her name sat at the top of my contacts, smiling in the thumbnail photo. I could still see her that morning, kissing me at the door, promising to text when she landed. I didn't call. Instead, I sat there, watching the camera feed, waiting for tomorrow. Saturday morning, I woke up before dawn and couldn't fall back asleep. Marco was still in his room. I sat on the couch with my laptop open, the door camera feed filling the screen. The street was empty. Porch light still on from the night before. Everything looked normal, which somehow made it worse. I thought about calling her. My thumb hovered over her name a dozen times, but every time I got close, I imagined her voice on the other end, warm and confused, asking why I was checking up on her, or worse, cold and distant, caught. So I didn't call. At 7:30, a car pulled up in front of the house. Not hers. A dark sedan I didn't recognize. The driver's door opened and Vanessa stepped out, wearing jeans and a white blouse I'd never seen before. She looked rested, happy even. The passenger door opened. A man got out. Tall, clean cut, maybe a few years older than me. Dark hair, fitted jacket, holding 2 paper shopping bags with rope handles. He said something to her over the roof of the car, and she laughed, head tilted back. The kind of laugh she used to give me when we first started dating. They walked up to the door together. She unlocked it and held it open while he stepped inside, bags in both hands. I sat frozen, staring at the screen. Marco came out of his room in sweatpants, rubbing his face. You still watching that? I didn't answer. He looked over my shoulder at the feed. Is that her? Yeah. Who's the guy? I don't know. We watched in silence as Vanessa came back outside and opened the trunk. She pulled out 2 more bags. Groceries, it looked like, and carried them inside. The man reappeared a moment later and grabbed the last 2. They moved easily, no hesitation, like they'd done this before. Marco sat down next to me. Maybe he's the caterer. Caterers don't show up 8 hours early. Then maybe he's setting up. I didn't respond. I just kept watching. They stayed inside for 20 minutes. I couldn't see past the entryway, couldn't hear anything. The camera only covered the porch and the front steps. For all I knew, they were standing in my kitchen, unpacking groceries, talking about me. Or not talking about me at all. When they finally came back into view, they were carrying something between them. A long folding table, the kind you rent for parties. They set it up in the living room just out of frame, and then disappeared again. See? Marco said. Party setup. I wanted to believe him. I wanted the table to mean something innocent. But the way they moved together, the rhythm of it felt too comfortable, too familiar. At 9, Vanessa's car pulled up again. This time she was alone. She unloaded a large cardboard box and carried it inside. A few minutes later, she came back out for another one, then another. I counted 5 trips before she finally closed the trunk and stayed inside. The man came out onto the porch holding a phone to his ear. He paced while he talked, one hand in his pocket, nodding at whatever the person on the other end was saying. When he hung up, he looked back through the door and smiled at something I couldn't see. Then he went back inside. Marco stood up. I'm making coffee. You want some? No. He went into the kitchen. I heard the grind of beans, the hiss of the machine warming up. I kept my eyes on the screen. At 10:30, the man came outside again, this time carrying a black garbage bag. He walked it down to the curb and set it next to the trash cans, then checked his watch and looked up the street like he was expecting someone. A white van pulled up a few minutes later. The side panel read, Party Pro Rentals, in blue letters. 2 guys got out and started unloading chairs. The man, Todd I assumed, though I still hadn't heard his name, directed them toward the house. They made 3 trips, stacking chairs in the entryway. Vanessa appeared in the doorway while they worked. She handed one of the delivery guys a clipboard and he signed something, then tipped his hat and got back in the van. She stood there for a moment, arms crossed, surveying the setup. Todd came up beside her and said something. She nodded, then turned and went back inside. He followed. Marco came back with his coffee. A lot of setup for a fake party. Or a real party, I said. Just not for me. Come on, man. Your sister's supposed to be there tonight. You think Vanessa's throwing her a party at your house? He sipped his coffee, eyes still on the screen. You're going to feel like an idiot when you walk in there and everyone yells surprise. Maybe. You're still going, right? When? Tonight, when it's supposed to start. He nodded slowly. You want me to come with you? You sure? I wasn't sure. But I couldn't imagine walking in there with Marco beside me, watching while I unraveled in front of a room full of people. Better to do it alone. The rest of the morning passed in silence. Vanessa and Todd moved in and out of frame, carrying boxes, adjusting furniture, hanging something on the wall I couldn't quite see. Around noon, they both disappeared for almost an hour. I stared at the empty porch, imagining what they were doing in the rooms I couldn't see. At 1, they came back into view in the kitchen. I could just barely make them out through the window over the sink. They were standing close, leaning against the counter, talking. He said something, and she laughed again, that same wide, open laugh. I closed the laptop. Marco looked over. You okay? I'm going for a walk. You want company? I grabbed my jacket and left before he could argue. I walked for 2 hours, looping through Marco's neighborhood without paying attention to where I was going. I thought about the furniture charge, the hotel, the dinner reservation. I thought about the way she looked at Todd through the window. I thought about the ring she wanted me to upgrade, the one I'd saved for months to buy, the one I thought was enough. By the time I got back, it was almost 4. Marco was on the couch watching a game with the sound off. Feel better? He asked. Not really. I opened the laptop again. Vanessa's car was gone. So was the sedan. The porch was empty except for a welcome mat I didn't recognize and a potted plant that hadn't been there this morning. I checked the credit card app. New charge, bakery, $200. Marco leaned over. Cake for the party. He looked at me. You're really going to walk in there thinking the worst, aren't you? He shook his head and turned back to the game. I sat there with the laptop open, watching the empty porch, waiting for the next car to pull up, waiting for the moment when I'd finally know. At 5 o'clock, the first car pulled up. I recognized it immediately. My sister's silver hatchback with the dented rear bumper. She parked 2 houses down and walked up to the door carrying a gift bag covered in metallic confetti. Vanessa opened it before she could knock, pulling her into a hug that lasted long enough for me to see my sister's surprised face over Vanessa's shoulder. They went inside together. Through the front window, I caught a glimpse of balloons, a banner stretched across the far wall that I couldn't quite read. Marco had gone out an hour ago to pick up food. The apartment felt too quiet without him. I sat with the laptop balanced on my knees, volume turned up in case the camera picked up voices. At 5:20, 2 more cars arrived within minutes of each other. I recognized both. One belonged to Angela, a woman I worked with who always brought homemade cookies to office parties. The other was driven by Chris, my old college roommate who I hadn't seen in almost a year. Vanessa greeted them at the door with the same bright smile, the same warm hug. The man, Todd, I kept calling him in my head even though I still didn't know for sure, stood just behind her, shaking hands, taking coats, directing people inside like he'd been doing this his whole life. Angela handed him a casserole dish. He said something that made her laugh, then carried it toward what I assumed was the kitchen. Chris clapped him on the shoulder as he walked past. I felt something hot and sharp twist in my chest. More cars came. I stopped counting after 8. People I knew, people I'd invited to my wedding, people who sent Christmas cards with pictures of their kids. They all walked up to my door and they all greeted Todd like he was someone they were supposed to know. At 6:15, Vanessa came out onto the porch holding a phone to her ear. She paced while she talked, nodding, glancing back through the door every few seconds. When she hung up, she looked directly at the camera. For a second, I thought she could see me. I froze, hand hovering over the trackpad, heart hammering against my ribs. But she was just checking the time on her watch. She turned and went back inside. I sat there staring at the empty porch, trying to make sense of what I was seeing. If this was a surprise party, why did Todd look so at home? Why did everyone treat him like he belonged there? If it wasn't a surprise party, what the hell was it? Marco came back at 6:30 with Thai food and 2 beers. He set them on the coffee table and looked at the screen. How many people now? I don't know, 20 maybe. He sat down next to me and opened one of the beers. You eat today? Not hungry? You should eat. I didn't answer. We sat in silence for a few minutes, watching the feed. Nobody came or went. The porch stayed empty. Inside, through the window, I could see shadows moving, the flicker of lights, the shape of people standing too close together. You're going over there, Marco said. It wasn't a question. Yeah. When? Soon. He took a long drink and set the bottle down. You want me to tell you you're wrong? Can you? He looked at the screen, then back at me. No. I stood up and grabbed my keys off the table. My hands were shaking. I shoved them in my pocket so Marco wouldn't see. Hey, he said. I turned. Whatever happens, don't do anything stupid. I didn't answer. I walked out the door and got in my car. The drive took 12 minutes. I knew because I watched the clock the entire way, counting down seconds like they might run out before I got there. The streets were quiet. Saturday evening, most people already home, settling in for the night. When I turned onto my block, I saw the cars lining both sides of the street. Angela's sedan, Chris's truck, my sister's hatchback with the dented bumper, and the dark sedan I didn't recognize, parked directly in front of my house, like it had every right to be there. I parked 3 houses down and sat with the engine running, staring at my front door. Lights glowed warm through the windows. I could see people inside, their shapes moving behind the curtains. Someone laughed loud enough that I heard it through the glass. I turned off the engine. The walk to the front door felt longer than it should have. My legs moved on autopilot while my brain screamed at me to turn around, get back in the car, drive until I couldn't remember why I'd come here in the first place. But I kept walking. I reached the porch, put my hand on the doorknob. It turned easily, unlocked like she knew I'd come. I pushed the door open. The sound hit me first. Voices layered over music, laughter, the clink of glasses, then the smell, food, perfume, the faint chemical sweetness of balloons, then the sight. My living room transformed. Streamers hanging from the ceiling, a table covered in food, a banner stretched across the far wall that read, "Happy 30th birthday," in silver letters 3 feet tall. And people, so many people, faces I knew, turning toward me all at once. Someone screamed, "Surprise!" and the rest followed, a chorus of voices that made my ears ring. I stood frozen in the doorway, keys still in my hand, staring at the room like I'd walked into someone else's life. Vanessa was standing near the kitchen, holding a glass of wine. Her face went white when she saw me. The glass slipped from her hand and shattered on the floor. Nobody else noticed. They were still cheering, clapping, a few people already moving toward me with open arms. But I wasn't looking at them. I was looking at Todd. He stood next to the food table, one hand resting on the edge, smiling like he'd been waiting for this moment. He wore a gray sweater and dark jeans, the same easy confidence I'd seen seen through the camera all day. I walked straight toward him. The crowd parted without me asking. "Who are you?" I said. The room went quiet. The music kept playing. Some pop song I didn't recognize, but every voice stopped at once. Todd's smile faltered. He glanced at Vanessa, then back at me. "I'm Todd. What are you doing in my house?" He looked at Vanessa again, eyebrows raised like she was supposed to explain. She was already moving toward me, stepping over the broken glass, hands up like she was approaching something dangerous. "Babe, I can explain." "Then explain." Her voice cracked. "He's my interior designer." I stared at her. "I hired him to renovate the house," she said, "as your birthday gift. That's why we've been..." She pulled out her phone with shaking hands and started swiping through photos. Mock-ups of our living room with new furniture, paint swatches taped to the wall, fabric samples spread across our kitchen table. "I didn't want you to know," she said. "You hate surprises, and I thought if I told you I was going to Denver, you wouldn't ask questions." I looked at Todd. He nodded slowly, hands in his pockets now, shoulders tense. "The hotel?" I said. "Fabric shopping," Vanessa said. "There's a wholesaler downtown that only does in-person appointments." "The dinner reservation?" "A client meeting. Todd's other client. I didn't want to bother you with work stuff on your birthday week." "The clothing store?" Todd cleared his throat. "Samples for throw pillows, custom fabric. They don't carry it in regular stores." I looked around the room. My sister stood near the banner, hands over her mouth. Angela had set down her casserole dish. Chris was staring at the floor. Vanessa's eyes were wet. "I've been planning this for 3 months," she whispered. "I swore everyone to secrecy. Marco, Todd, your sister, everyone. I just wanted to do something special." I felt the room tilt. "Say something," Vanessa said. I opened my mouth. Nothing came out. She started crying. I stood there with my mouth open, every word I'd rehearsed on the drive over dissolving before I could speak them. Vanessa's hands shook as she held the phone toward me. The screen showed our living room rendered in soft grays and creams. Furniture I'd never seen arranged in configurations that somehow made the space look twice as large. "I found him through a referral," she said. Her voice was thin, stretched tight. "Angela recommended him. He did her sunroom last year." I looked at Angela. She nodded, still covering her mouth with one hand. "I wanted to surprise you," Vanessa continued. "I know you always said you hated surprises, but I thought if it was something you actually wanted..." She swiped to another image. Our bedroom with new curtains, a headboard I'd mentioned liking once in passing at a furniture store 6 months ago. "You said you wished the house felt more like ours," she whispered. "Not just a place we moved into. You said that." I had said that. Late one night after we'd hosted dinner for her parents, standing in the kitchen doing dishes while her mother's voice still echoed in my head, telling us the paint color was dated. Todd hadn't moved. He stood with his hands in his pockets, watching me with an expression I couldn't read. Not defensive, not smug, just waiting. "The hotel," I said again. My voice sounded hollow. "You said you had a conference." I lied. She wiped her face with the back of her hand. "The fabric wholesaler only does appointments on weekends, and they're downtown, and I didn't want you asking why I was getting a hotel room 20 minutes from our house. You could have just told me. You would have asked questions. You always ask questions." Her voice broke. "I wanted one thing to be a surprise. One thing you didn't see coming." Marco stepped forward from somewhere behind me. I'd forgotten he wasn't there. I'd forgotten anyone else existed. I told her it was a bad idea, he said quietly. "Lying about the whole trip. I said you'd figure it out." I turned to look at him. His face was tight with something that looked like shame. "She made me promise," he said. "She called me 2 months ago and said she needed help keeping you distracted. I told her you don't do well with secrets, but she said..." He stopped, glanced at Vanessa. "She said she wanted to do something big, something you'd remember." My sister moved closer, stepping carefully around the broken glass, still scattered near Vanessa's feet. "We all knew," she said. "Everyone here. She invited us a month ago and swore us to secrecy. She said if anyone slipped, the whole thing would be ruined." I looked around the room, 20 faces staring back at me. People I'd known for years. People who'd watched me walk in and ask a stranger who he was, like I'd caught him in the middle of a crime. Chris raised his hand slightly like he was in a classroom. "I thought it was sweet," he offered, "for what it's worth." Nobody laughed. Todd finally spoke. His voice was calm, measured. "I've been working with Vanessa since February. We've met 6 times, always during your work hours. The Denver story was her idea. I told her it was risky, but she said you trusted her." The words hit like a fist to the stomach. "I do trust you," I said to Vanessa. My voice cracked. "I did trust you." "Then why are you here?" she asked. "I told you I'd be gone. I told you not to come home. You told me you'd be in Denver, because I knew you'd stay away if you thought I was out of town." Her face crumpled. "I knew you wouldn't check. I knew you'd just let me go." "I got a calendar alert," I said. The words sounded stupid as soon as I said them. "It said to pick up decorations. It had Marco's name in the notes." Marco closed his eyes. "That was me. I said it by accident when I was adding the party to my phone. I didn't realize it synced to yours. So I called him," I continued, "and he told me about the party, and I thought..." I stopped, looked at Todd, at Vanessa, at the room full of people who'd driven here on a Saturday night to celebrate me. "I thought you were lying." Vanessa's face went pale. "About what?" I couldn't say it. Not in front of everyone. Not with my sister standing 3 feet away and Angela still holding her casserole dish and Chris pretending to examine the wall like it was the most fascinating thing he'd ever seen. "About the party," I said weakly. "Why would I lie about a party?" "I don't know." "What did you think I was doing?" I didn't answer. She stared at me. I watched the realization move across her face in stages. Confusion, then disbelief, then something that looked like she'd been slapped. "You thought I was cheating on you," she said. The room inhaled as one. "With Todd." Todd's eyebrows shot up. He looked at me, then at Vanessa, then back at me. "I'm gay," he said flatly. "I didn't know that," I said. "I'm also married to a man. We have a dog named Biscuit." Someone in the back of the room laughed. It was a short, sharp sound that died as soon as it started. Vanessa's hands dropped to her sides. The phone slipped from her fingers and landed on the carpet with a soft thud. "You thought I was cheating," she repeated. Her voice was hollow now, all the tears gone. "You saw me planning your birthday party and thought I was having an affair. I saw charges on the credit card, I said. My face burned. The hotel, the restaurant, I didn't understand. So you spied on me. I watched the door camera. You spied on me, she said again, louder this time. You sat somewhere and watched me decorate our house for your birthday and decided I was betraying you. I didn't decide anything. I needed to know. You could have asked. You were lying. About a surprise party. Her voice cracked on the last word. I lied about a party because I wanted to see your face when you walked in and saw what I'd done. That's it. That's the whole thing. My throat felt tight. I'm sorry. Everyone's here, she said. She gestured around the room with both hands, her movements sharp and unsteady. Your sister took off work early. Angela made you a casserole. Chris drove 2 hours. Todd spent his Saturday setting up furniture mock-ups in our living room because I asked him to. I know. Do you? She stepped closer. I could see the mascara smudged under her eyes, the red blotches on her cheeks. Do you know what it took to plan this? How many people I had to coordinate? How many times I almost told you because keeping a secret from you felt like swallowing glass? I reached for her hand. She pulled away. I did this because I love you, she said. And you walked in here and accused me of... She stopped, shook her head. I don't even know what you accused me of. I didn't accuse you of anything. You asked Todd who he was like he was a stranger in your house. He is a stranger. He's my designer. He's been helping me for months. Everyone here knows him. She looked at Todd. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Todd held up both hands. It's fine, really. It's not fine, Vanessa said. She turned back to me. None of this is fine. The room stayed silent. I could hear the music still playing, some upbeat song that felt obscene now. Someone near the kitchen coughed. My sister moved first. She walked over to Vanessa and put a hand on her shoulder. Maybe we should give you two some space. No, Vanessa said. Stay, please. You all came here for him. You should stay. But people were already moving toward the door. Quietly, carefully, like they were leaving a funeral. Angela picked up her casserole dish. Chris grabbed his coat from the rack. Marco stopped next to me on his way out. Call me later, he said quietly. I nodded. Todd was the last to leave. He paused in the doorway and looked back at Vanessa. I'll email you the revised plans, he said. Take your time. She didn't answer. The door closed. The house went silent except for the music still playing from a speaker I couldn't see. Vanessa stood in the middle of the living room, surrounded by streamers and balloons and a banner that said, Happy 30th birthday, in letters too big to ignore. I need you to leave, she said. This is my house. I don't care. She looked at me with eyes that were dry now, emptied out. I can't look at you right now. I opened my mouth to argue, to apologize again, to explain what I'd been thinking, what I'd been feeling, why I'd driven home and walked in like I was catching her in the act. But the look on her face stopped me. I turned and walked out the door. I drove to Marco's place and sat in his driveway for 20 minutes before I could make myself go inside. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. He opened the door before I knocked, took one look at my face and stepped aside. Beer? He asked. I shook my head, sat down on his couch and stared at the wall. He sat across from me in the armchair, elbows on his knees. You want to talk about it? I fucked up. Yeah, I thought. I stopped. Started again. I saw the charges and I thought she was lying to me. She was lying to you, Marco said carefully. Just not about what you thought. I watched her on the door camera. I sat here in your apartment and watched her bring another man into our house, and I was so sure. I know. You don't know. My voice came out louder than I meant it to. You weren't there when I walked in. You didn't see her face. Marco was quiet for a moment. Then he got up and went to the kitchen. Came back with 2 beers anyway and set one on the table in front of me. She called me 3 months ago, he said. Asked if I thought you'd like the surprise. I told her you hate surprises. She said this was different. She said you'd been talking about wanting to make the house feel more like home, and she wanted to do something big for your 30th. I picked up the beer. Didn't open it. She was so excited, Marco continued. She kept sending me pictures of furniture and asking which one I thought you'd like better. She made me promise not to tell you even if you asked directly. Why didn't you warn me? About what? That your wife was planning a birthday party? About the lying? About the hotel and the charges and... I didn't know about any of that, Marco said. She just told me about the party. She said she was handling the rest. I set the beer down. I need to go back. Give her time. I can't. I can't sit here knowing she's alone in that house thinking I don't trust her. Do you trust her? The question hit like a punch. I looked at him. I'm serious, Marco said, because what happened tonight, that wasn't about a calendar alert or credit card charges. That was about you seeing evidence that didn't fit and assuming the worst. I was wrong. I know you were wrong, but why were you wrong? What made you look at your wife planning a party and see an affair? I didn't have an answer. Marco leaned back. My sister went through this with her ex. He accused her of cheating every time she worked late, every time she went out with friends, every time her phone buzzed at dinner. It didn't matter what she said, or how many times she proved she wasn't doing anything wrong. He'd already decided she was guilty. I'm not like that. Then why are you here instead of home? I stood up. Because she told me to leave. And you listened. Because somewhere in your head, you think you deserve to be punished. I do deserve to be punished. Maybe, Marco said. But not by yourself. If Vanessa wants to be angry, let her be angry. Don't do it for her. I walked to the door, stopped with my hand on the knob. She showed me pictures, I said quietly, of the house, the renovations. She had everything planned out. She was crying. I turned around. What do I say to her? Marco shook his head. I don't know, man, but you better figure it out fast. The house was dark when I pulled into the driveway. I sat in the car for a long time, watching the windows, trying to decide if she was asleep or just ignoring me. Finally, I got out and used my key. The living room was exactly as I'd left it. Streamers still hanging from the ceiling. Balloons clustered in the corners. The banner sagging slightly in the middle where the tape had started to give. Vanessa was sitting on the couch in the dark. I told you to leave, she said without looking at me. So why are you here? I closed the door behind me, stayed near the entrance, keeping distance between us. Because I need to explain. You already explained. You thought I was cheating. I didn't think that, not really. She turned to look at me then. Her face was shadowed, but I could see her eyes were swollen. Then what did you think? She asked. I don't know. I saw the charges and I panicked. I saw you with Todd and I couldn't make it make sense. So you assumed I was lying. You were lying about a party. Her voice broke broke on the last word. I lied about a party because I wanted to surprise you, and you turned it into something ugly. I moved closer, slowly, like approaching something fragile. I'm sorry, I said. You keep saying that. Because I mean it. Do you? She stood up. Because sorry doesn't fix what you did. Sorry doesn't undo you watching me on a camera like I was a suspect. Sorry doesn't make my friends unsee you accusing Todd of whatever you thought he was doing. Then what do you want from me? She was crying again now, her voice raw. You want me to say it's okay? That I understand? I don't understand. I don't understand how you could look at me and see someone capable of that. I wasn't looking at you. I was looking at evidence that didn't make sense. I'm not evidence. I'm your wife. The words hung between us. I was scared, I said finally. I saw the charges and I got scared. Of what? Of losing you? She laughed. It was a bitter sound. So you decided to lose me first. That's not what I did. Then what did you do? She stepped closer, her face inches from mine. Tell me. Explain to me how watching me through a camera and ambushing me at my own party was about being scared. I couldn't answer. She wiped her face with both hands. I spent 3 months planning this. 3 months coordinating schedules and picking out furniture and lying to you every single day because I thought... She stopped, took a breath. I thought you'd be happy. I thought you'd walk in and see what I'd done and feel loved. I do feel loved. No, you don't. If you felt loved, you wouldn't have assumed I was betraying you. You made a choice, she corrected. You chose to believe I was lying instead of asking me directly. You chose to spy on me instead of trusting me. You chose to walk into that party looking for a fight. I wasn't looking for a fight. Then what were you looking for? The truth. The truth was right in front of you. She gestured at the room. The truth was 20 people showing up to celebrate your birthday. The truth was me planning something special because I love you and I wanted you to feel it. My throat felt tight. I know. Do you? She was close enough now that I could see the mascara streaked down her cheeks, the way her hands trembled as she crossed her arms. Because I need you to understand what you did tonight. I need you to understand that you didn't just embarrass me. You broke something. I'll fix it. How? She turned away, walked to the window and stood there looking out at nothing. Todd texted me, she said quietly. He said he's withdrawing from the project. He doesn't feel comfortable working with us anymore. The words hit like a slap. He said he understands, she continued. He said these things happen, but I could tell he was just being polite. I could tell he thinks we're a mess. We're not a mess, aren't we? She turned back to face me. You thought I was cheating. I lied about a business trip. We threw a party that ended with half the guests leaving early because they were too uncomfortable to stay. What part of that isn't a mess? I moved closer. She didn't step back. I love you, I said. I know you do, but love isn't enough if you don't trust me. I trust you. You watched me on a camera because I was scared. Of what? She asked again. What are you so scared of that you'd rather believe I'm betraying you than believe I'm planning a surprise? I opened my mouth, closed it. The answer was there, buried somewhere under the shame and the panic and the sick feeling that had been sitting in my stomach since I saw those credit card charges. My dad cheated on my mom, I said finally. When I was 12, she found out because she saw charges on their credit card from a hotel downtown. Vanessa went very still. She confronted him at dinner, I continued, in front of me and my sister. He denied it at first, said it was a work thing, said she was overreacting, and then she showed him the receipts and he stopped lying. He admitted everything. You never told me that. I didn't want to think about it. I sat down on the couch. After the divorce, my mom used to go through everything. Every receipt, every phone call, every time he picked us up late. She was looking for proof he was still lying. She was looking for evidence that he was doing it again with someone else. Vanessa sat down next to me, not touching, but close. When I saw those charges, I said, I didn't see you. I saw my dad. I saw my mom's face when she realized he'd been lying for months, and I stopped. I thought if I could catch it early, if I could see it happening before it got too far, maybe I could stop it. I'm not your father, Vanessa said quietly. And you're not your mother. I looked at her. I know that too. Then why did you act like them? Because I didn't know what else to do. She reached over and took my hand. Her fingers were cold. I need you to hear me, she said. I'm not going to cheat on you. I'm not going to lie to you about anything that matters. And I need you to believe that. Not because I'm asking you to, but because you actually trust me. I do trust you. Then prove it. She squeezed my hand. Next time you're scared, next time something doesn't make sense, come to me first. Ask me, talk to me, don't assume the worst, and then look for evidence to support it. Okay, I mean it. I know I will. She let go of my hand and stood up, walked to the hallway and disappeared for a moment. When she came back, she was holding a small velvet box. This was the other surprise, she said. She handed it to me. I opened it. Inside was a ring, not a wedding band, something else. White gold with a single diamond set flush in the center. I've been saving for 2 years, she said. You always said you wished you could have afforded something better when you proposed. You said you felt bad that I wore a ring you bought on a payment plan. I stared at the ring, my vision blurred. I was going to give it to you tonight, she continued. After everyone left, I was going to tell you that I didn't care what the ring looked like when you proposed. I cared that you asked, but I knew it bothered you, so I wanted to fix it. Vanessa, I'm not giving it to you now, she said. Not tonight, not after what happened. I understand, but I want you to know it exists. I want you to know that while you were watching me on a camera and thinking I was betraying you, I was saving money to honor you. I closed the box, handed it back to her. Keep it, I said. Give it to me when you're ready. She took it, held it against her chest. I forgive you, she said quietly. I'm angry and I'm hurt, and I don't know when I'll stop feeling like this, but I forgive you. you. Thank you. Don't thank me, just do better. I will. She sat back down next to me. We stayed there in the dark, surrounded by decorations for a party that had ended hours ago, and neither of us moved to turn on the lights. I watched Vanessa arrange stuffed animals on the shelf Todd built into the corner of the nursery. Her belly is round now, pressing against the fabric of one of my old shirts she's claimed as her own. He did good work, I say from the doorway. She glances back at me. He did, even after everything. Todd had eventually agreed to finish the project, but only after Vanessa called him personally and apologized for what I'd put him through. He'd been professional about it, said he understood, but I could hear the distance in his voice when he came by to take measurements. The room looks nothing like I imagined. Soft greens and warm woods, a rocking chair by the window. Everything intentional, everything chosen. I still can't believe you thought I was having an affair with an interior designer, Vanessa says. I can't believe you lied about Denver for 3 months. Touché. She runs her hand along the crib rail. Your mom called again, asked if we'd decided on a name. What did you tell her? That we're still arguing about it. I move into the room and stand next to her. The house settled an hour ago, that groaning sound old foundations make. I used to check the door camera every time I heard it. Now I just listen until it stops.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and drop your favorite part in the comments. See you in the next one.